Spirit Horror Podcast. I'm Josh.
And I'm Jake.
What we have going on today is an intro to why we're starting this podcast. Jake, what would be your best description of why we're starting this?
I would say for me, the reason to start it is to honestly do something with the love you both have for horror and hopefully distribute it and put it out to the fan base and give them something that they need but didn't know they needed.
Yeah, I mean, what made you get into horror movies or just anything horror in the first place?
My mom. My mom has always been a diehard horror fan. Grew up watching with her from the Alfred Hitchcock movies, Vincent Price movies, up until going to the 80s. So Friday the 13th, Hellraiser, Child's Play. It was something that connected us pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, my horror intro is completely different than yours.
Okay.
Mine was a complete fear of everything horror. I mean, I started at 6 years old. My dad told me not to watch The Exorcist, so I sat down with him and watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just absolutely terrified me. For years, I couldn't watch anything that was dark in connotation.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I didn't see The Exorcist until I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Saw it once. That was good enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrifying movie. I haven't been able to rewatch it since.
I haven't either.
And here I am with a horror podcast,
Yeah.
But what would you say was the movie for you as a kid?
The movie for me as a kid would probably be, it's a tie. One would be The Thing.
Okay.
As a kid, I loved it. Just the whole theory of not knowing who is who. I love when it's like a closed circuit type of ambiance where you're in one space the entire time. And then also Friday the 13th. The very first one I saw was the original, 1980. Mm-hmm. But then the second one I saw was Jason Takes Manhattan. So I see like 7 different movies.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just jumped.
Yeah. But just his size, the hockey mask, just everything. It clicked for me.
Friday the 13th, huh? Well, that's a good little transition into mine.
Okay.
Because I was probably 12, 13 years old, at the Blockbuster, That was the spot to be when we were younger, man.
Yes,
you could just walk in that bad boy and pick out everything horror. Well, it was October. I was with some friends, so I decided to get Halloween. Very fitting time of year for such a classic. And it's in my opinion, I mean, you can argue this all you want, but it's the original slasher for me. There's obviously other ones. Psycho's a great one.
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, correct me if I'm wrong, came out before, the original came out before Halloween.
Correct.
But what they did with Michael Myers and that mask and the shape.
Yeah.
The shape. I'd never seen anything like that on film before.
I don't think anybody had.
So it really sparked this whole love for horror, and Michael Myers being the greatest villain in all of horror. Yours, sadly enough, is just a cheap ripoff.
Some may think that, but the most iconic mask killer is Jason Voorhees. The hockey mask is iconic. It's not a rip-off of someone else's face like Michael Myers is,
Yeah, but that's William Shatner.
It's his own thing, yeah.
But, okay. So you got a hockey mask. Yeah. Cool. One of the most irrelevant sports. I'm kidding, all the hockey fans out there. No, I mean, yes, when you see a hockey mask of that style, you immediately think Jason Voorhees.
100%.
100%. But Friday the 13th, the original had no hockey mask, bro.
That is correct.
So, go ahead.
So when I see Michael Myers, I then think William Shatner, which then makes me think Star Trek.
Okay, but us super horror nerds, we will know the William Shatner tie-in. Most people will see the Halloween mask and immediately think of the scariest villain in modern cinema, Michael Myers.
One of the scariest, yeah.
I mean, yes.
When you see the hockey mask, you know it's Jason Voorhees. Even though in the original one, it wasn't him, it was his mom, Mrs. Voorhees. But the way that the Jason character has transcended not even horror, just pop culture in general.
True.
There were in the 80s Friday the 13th video games with Jason on it. There were
Which I'm very bad at.
Friday the 13th, the miniseries, which didn't have to do with Jason, but
Yeah.
gained popularity based on that series.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I wonder why they wouldn't do a Michael Myers. I mean, the whole shape, the whole creeping, the whole, you know, obviously Voorhees does it to an extent because, like I said, it's a knockoff of Halloween. But,
Okay.
you know, to me, there's something absolutely beautiful about it being one of the most low-budgeted horror films. The almost accident in making it that creepy was due to lack of actors, actresses, and money. To me, that brings out beauty in horror.
I would agree with that. But also, when it comes to Jason, I
Mhm.
mean, they tried the potato sack over his head. That clearly wasn't working.
Yeah.
Also was a knockoff as well. So they come into part 3, I think it is. They decide what mask to do with him, and they found a Detroit Red Wings mask sitting on a set. They give it to him. There's history after that. So they took something that isn't scary by definition, just a hockey mask,
Absolutely.
and made it into one of, if not the most terrifying things when it comes to horror and mask. Yeah, you have Ghostface, you have Michael Myers, but number one mask killer of all time, and has the most kills, by the way, would be Jason Voorhees.
Hey, with the new movies coming out, because once again, Halloween's such a good franchise that it can continue. We're getting close. We're sneaking up on that kill count, buddy. We are.
I'll agree with that.
I do completely agree with some of the things you're saying with the mask and the pure fear. I think a lot based on size and brutality. You know, and that's where some horror fans draw differences. You know, is it the brutality kills? Is it the sneaky kills? You know, and you really, it's almost uncomparable sometimes to compare Michael and Jason Voorhees.
I agree.
Their styles are so different.
Yeah.
Michael is this just menacing, haunting shape.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally his name
Yeah.
in the credits of Halloween.
Yeah.
Whereas when you see that motherfucker Jason walk on screen, bro, he ain't gotta hide, he ain't gotta run, he's gonna mess you up.
Yeah, I think with Michael Myers being the shape or the boogeyman, there's a whole different quality to him.
Mhm.
I guess you're thinking pure fear and horror on its own, it would be Michael Myers.
Yes.
You're thinking brutality, brute strength, the ability to, once you see Jason, you know you were dead.
Yes.
100%.
And the thing with Michael is you don't see him and then you're dead.
Correct.
You know, and that's something that I have, there we go, facing my back wrong. That is something that I have always really been drawn to in horror. I think it's because of honestly, I think I'm just clicking this now, but Exorcist is brutal. It might not be kills, but what you're seeing and what you're experiencing, people were fainting, people were leaving, people were puking in theater from the disgust and the brutality of an exorcism.
Yeah.
So I think when I found my movie, I finally found something that didn't need that, but could still scare the shit out of you.
Okay, yeah.
You know?
I agree with that.
But now that I've dove in years and years and years and years, you know, I got hatchet kills as some of my favorite. Those are some of the most brutal, you know?
So I guess from when you first started watching horror to now, I guess, how would you say that your taste in horror movies has changed?
My taste has, I've gotten very snooty and picky, to be honest with you. I would say that what I look for is originality, which is damn near impossible to find anymore.
That's true.
I'm a big Halloween guy. They're doing the remakes or the reboots or whatever you want to call them. And they have some, changes and additions and how he goes about things. But I'd say You know, I don't. You know, I kind of draw a blank on what I expect to look for. You know, because I feel like everybody's so keen on remakes.
Yeah, I mean, I am all inclusive when it comes to horror. So pretty much, if there is a killer
Mm-hmm.
and there's the slightest bit of suspense,
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
But I know, me personally, I'll like be a slasher lover at heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm open to monsters or vampires or zombies, which are all included
Under the umbrella.
on the umbrella.
Yeah.
Even sharks and stuff like that. But I feel like as long as there's some suspense, good kills, a good weapon by choice.
Okay, so what would be your number one weapon of choice?
Axe.
Axe?
100%.
Axe. Okay. So is that obviously due to your Friday the 13th upbringing?
Well, that, watching The Shining
Ooh, yes.
as a kid as well, just the force and brutality of hitting someone straight in the chest, boom, with an axe.
And you know, you really can't be a pipsqueak wielding an axe.
Exactly. You gotta be a stronger person.
You gotta be a big dude that's able to just tear into somebody.
Yeah. To have the strength to hit somebody with it, pull it out, keep going with it. I feel like just the strength it takes, the blood splatter, I'm all about it. My second would be machete, obviously, you know. Jason,
So you were just a Jason fanboy.
Yeah.
So
100%.
what about the ability to make something not scary, very scary, like a butcher knife? My boy Mikey Mike, is able to hang basically an adult male. I mean, he's a teenager, but still of solid stature.
Yeah.
He is able to stab through him with a kitchen utensil and dangle him like a Halloween decoration.
Well, clearly that's either the thinnest wall or door possible, the longest kitchen knife possible, or it's just the combination of the strongest and the weakest man at the exact same time.
But but don't you think that it adds a bit more appeal to Michael Myers?
100%.
Because, you know, a big dude swinging an axe, cool.
Yeah.
A sneaky, stealthy man that's able to stab through you and hang you by your body with a kitchen utensil.
Yeah.
You know, I get it. Yes, the dynamics don't necessarily add up. With an axe, it makes sense, but the fear that you get from that, you know, in that direction that he went with, is something that is beautiful. I mean, most people just slash, stab, you're done.
Yeah, I agree. And that goes back into the visuals. So the thought of a guy who looks like he's obviously dead from just his clothes, where he's walking around, and the hockey mask, that visually is terrifying.
Absolutely.
To see just a guy out on Halloween wearing a costume, where everyone else is, it wouldn't scare you that much. You know? But just the fact that mask, that jumpsuit, and that knife put together can secure you to your core, it does take you into a different level that Jason can't get to.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because Jason doesn't have the appeal of the stealth. I mean, once Michael Myers got found out as Michael Myers in that jumper and that mask, everybody's on the lookout for him. But you know, I guess with you and Jason Takes Manhattan, how did that portray in the movie? So how, you know, in your opinion, how do you think they did with seeing something that we have all seen in movies, but now this motherfucker's walking around New York City?
Well, one, that's the best Friday the 13th, because it does something different that the other one didn't do. One, took him out of Camp Crystal Lake.
Yes.
The only disappointing part of it is, I know how they portray that New York is just some tough town, you know, nothing phases them. So the fact that they saw some dude who looked like he just came out of the ocean wearing a hockey mask, walking up and down Times Square, there were no reactions to it, that's the one thing that's really been a deterrent to me. It's like, dude, that was scary.
Yeah, I mean, that would be absolutely terrifying to see. I mean, his size alone.
Yeah, oh, he's wet and wearing a hockey mask in the middle of the night.
Maybe that's just New York.
Yeah, maybe that was New York in the 80s.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
I'm a little too young to know what New York in the 80s was like, but those guys were unfazed.
Yeah, so you got to think, you got the mid 80s, you got Ghostbusters. So there's a ghost around New York City. So a couple years later, some dude in a hockey mask. That's nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
No big
Like
deal.
Marshmallow Man walking through town, you know.
No big deal.
So, with the Ghostbusters comment there, would you then, what would you categorize a movie like Ghostbusters?
I would say Ghostbusters, me personally, is a horror movie. I mean, let me take that back. It's not a horror movie. It's a comedy with horror elements.
So it then could be considered a horror comedy.
Comedy horror. Comedy's got to go first because there may be some out there, but I've never seen them. Horror movies with Bill Murray in it and Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd, who were known as three comedic actors and writers.
Absolutely.
So, not saying there can't be funny horror movie, because there can, but Ghostbusters is not one of them.
Okay, we'll dive into this a little bit more another time. But I just, you had mentioned it with the Friday the 13th connection.
So how do you feel about it? Do you think it's a horror movie?
I honestly feel like it's a horror comedy, which I think is under the umbrella of horror, and we can obviously dive into this more on another episode. But I feel like there's a special place for Ghostbusters in our podcast and in the horror community.
Okay. All right.
So if you were to create, if you could, a new horror icon or a new horror movie, how do you think you'd go about it? Speaking of originality.
That's tough. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind to me about doing something original, doing something different, to me was Fear Street.
Okay.
Even though it's a non-original idea, and the concepts that obviously these killers were based on, 90s, 80s, and, different times in horror.
Absolutely.
But I think if I was to create some new content, it would be an axe-wielding, I don't say maniac, but someone who snapped and, now they're using axe kill people.
So, obviously a very campy, clampy, just brutal slasher.
Yeah, based in the 80s, of course.
Of course. I mean, how original.
And that's the best time for damn horror is the 1980s.
And I would absolutely back that. I think everybody in the horror community would love another one. And like you said, with the and our feeble opinions, the success for Fear Street in our lives as two horror friends, nothing of recent has done what Fear Street did for me, like a feeling.
No.
It was obviously, Netflix, the beast of online streaming. Finally, Stranger Things is a nice little dive into horror. But what they were able to do with Fear Street and R.L. Stine was pure beauty, in my opinion. And I think that it could potentially really bring more horror fans into our worlds.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hope so. I know when we went to the horror convention,
Scarefest 13.
Scarefest 13, in Lexington, Kentucky.
Lexington, Kentucky. Good old Kentucky.
It was good being surrounded by people who loved horror as much as we did, if not more than we did.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, we got to talk to a couple people, a couple scary ones, in my opinion. If they ever tune into this podcast, we miss you. We'd love to have you on here.
You know exactly who you are.
Yeah, you know exactly. Trenchcoat man. But no, it was honestly beautiful. Going to a convention, our first convention, as friends or in general.
First of very many.
Yes, very many. Scarefest was eye-opening. The age groups, the fandom, the lines.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, no offense, Bruce. If you ever listen to my podcast, Bruce Campbell, you're amazing. I love your acting. you would have thought it was Brad Pitt in that place.
Yeah.
I mean, Kane Hodder, who, in our opinions, is one of the biggest icons in horror. 20 minutes. You know, and it was crazy. We did it on a perfect day, but it shows that, you know, because you got Ash versus Evil Dead, which is a current, or might not be current. I think he finally hung up the chainsaw and the boomstick, but it was the most current streaming horror thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe that is why it's lined up there. Maybe there are current, you know, people getting brought in by these streaming. I think that splits. I don't know who does it. I couldn't tell you who streams it or where it came out, but it was eye opening to see. You know, Bruce Campbell, Evil Dead, love it. Ash vs. Evil Dead, love it.
Yeah, I mean it was good, and I know being in Kane's line, you know, it wasn't to me as long as it should have been.
And we were also very early.
Very true. I'm also glad it wasn't that long.
Me too, very much so.
I was in and out very quickly.
Yeah, able to finesse.
Yeah.
You know, if you guys ever get a chance to go to horror conventions as horror fans, you guys got to take it. You know, spend 2 days, spend your life savings, merchandise, and different autograph signatures. Everybody in the horror community is so freaking nice, and so just welcoming, which you wouldn't always expect from people that like seeing people die on screen.
Yeah, everyone was very friendly. Everyone was. It was almost like a brotherhood almost.
Absolutely.
You know, everyone's there for the same reason. You're having good conversations. You're meeting, and knowing that the people who were in these movies are so down to earth.
Yeah.
Is insane.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I got to meet Hannah Fierman. She played in VHS, and big fan. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful young woman, and she's been in a couple different horror movies. And even got to see Doofus, what the way?
Doofy, I think.
Doofy, yeah, from Scary Movie.
I don't know why he was there, but
hey man, I took a picture with him. He said "Smell my finger." It was awesome. So to circle back to you know, horror in this episode, what do you think could continue to bring more people to horror? What do you think it's going to take to keep people interested?
Take 2 things. One, I think making different sequels and reboots to, I guess, like the foundation of horror, like the Halloween, the Friday the 13th, Chucky. That not only brings fans from the original series who maybe haven't watched in a while back in, but it could bring their kids back in, friends back in. So it's something that's familiar to them. Yeah. But also, we do need new ideas. Yes. There has to be some type of new premise, new killer, new something.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Scream 5 coming out here in what, a month?
Yeah, a month, yeah.
A month. Yeah. Good opportunity to also hopefully bring some people in to the horror world, and also give us fans what we need for that beautiful, beautiful movie franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's definitely time for a new one.
Absolutely.
And I guess 2 sides of that. One, it could branch more sequels.
Yeah, younger character developments and other storylines other than Sidney Prescott, who's been chased by this damn guy for how long?
Over 20 years.
Ain't got nothing going on my girl Laurie Strode, though.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
Unfortunately, Friday the 13th Final Girls don't make it that long. I mean,
they really don't.
Which is very strange. I feel like, you know.
I think that would be an interesting thing to talk about, though, on another episode.
Yeah, I agree.
Because most of my favorites, they all have Final Girls. Yours is just like, nah, all people die.
Well, you get one who makes it to the sequel and they die 5 minutes into it. And then, you know, you have people who make it in the sequel who just never come back again.
Yeah, very true.
And they never discuss it ever again. Like it never happened.
Yeah, horror is just it's a fun, spooky thing. Most people, unfortunately, always tie it to Halloween, but for people like us, it's an all-year obsession.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what being at that convention felt like.
Yes.
It's in October, but
Yeah, but there's other ones. I mean, we'll be going to one here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
In Concord, North Carolina.
here we go.
So it's exciting. You know, they can have these things all year. This is our first episode of a horror podcast, you know?
Yeah.
So we just hope that we can get some feedback, some love from some fans out there. If you guys have any ideas of episodes that you guys would like to do, please reach out. You can go to our Instagram, J Squared Horror Podcast, and click on the link. There's actually a form you can fill out and let us know what kind of content you guys would like.
Yeah.
And we want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Josh.
I'm Jake.
And we want to take a big shout out for Lucky Riggs, did the music to our intro, and Jeff Balance did all of our design work.
Yeah. The music is amazing.
And beautiful.
The design work was good as well. I am wearing a J Squared Horror hoodie.
The J Squared Horror hoodie.
You see it?
Yeah. But like we said, thank you for tuning in. What's our next episode going to be?
So our next episode is going to be covering The Shining.
Do you guys hear that? The Shining.
I know it's very lofty
It's
for the second episode of the podcast. As you can tell, we haven't done this is our first one. So, but the second one, we're going to cover The Shining. We're going to just go into our own ideas of it, what different things mean, and kind of just go from there.
I'm looking forward to talking about The Shining. I know it's one of your favorites.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
know, it's iconic and almost in an untouchable way. And I look forward to talking about it, and hopefully you guys will tune in next time.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right.